We are visiting with Conway Twitty. Conway just off the plane from Hawaii, where he's been visiting with Loretta Lynn. And Conway, that prompts my first question, and that is records with Loretta Lynn. Is that going to happen in 1987?
Well, that's one of the things that I went to Hawaii to talk to Loretta about. We're working on that, and of course, I just signed a new contract with MCA Records. And that's the label I was with for so many years, and so is Loretta. But I left about 5 years ago and went with the Warner Brothers, and am now back with MCA, and that makes it easier to do a duet thing. And we talked about it, and yeah, I think sometime during this year we'll do that.
The Diamond Duet reunited.
That's right.
You had a lot of hits with her.
Yeah.
How many #1 records did you have with
Well,
Loretta?
we only released one single a year. Ralph, unlike other duets, we released one a year, and so we recorded. We started in 1970 as a duet, and I think in 1980 we released our last single that we had. That's been 6 or 7 years ago. That doesn't seem possible.
Did all of them go #1?
No, 6 of them went to #1, and the other 4 or 5, whatever it was, went to 2 or 3 or something like that.
They were all top 10.
Yeah.
Will they new recordings with Loretta? Is that go? Can we?
Can we say that we're going to do it?
Yes.
Yeah. Barring anything that I can't think of at this point that might happen. Yeah. Yeah, we're going to do it sometime this year. First of all, we're going to put together a television package. It's something we've never had as a duet. An album with 20 of our best things on there.
Mm-hmm.
All the singles that we've had, plus a few singles that other people did that we recorded, songs that we recorded that turned out really good, and songs like Spiders and Snakes, and Picking Wild Mountain Berries that played like singles. Yeah, unless something happens that I haven't foreseen, we will do it this year.
I think on the track for Spiders and Snakes, it's where Loretta, right in the middle of the song, says, this is the craziest song I've ever heard.
That's right. You're a pretty good memory, Ralph.
What, name in some order the top 5 records with Loretta Lynn.
The biggest selling record we had was a thing that I wrote, we called the telephone song. As soon as I hang up the phone, that's the biggest one. Next to it, I suppose, would be a Louisiana Woman, Mississippi Man, and that's my favorite, Louisiana Woman, Mississippi Man. And I'm going to have trouble remembering some of these things. I haven't sung them in so long with her. The next one, I guess, would be I can't think of the name of it. Troy Seals wrote the song. I can't think of the name of it.
How did it go, Conway?
I'm trying to think of that too. I can't even hum it. I know people find that hard to believe, but I haven't done duets with Loretta in so long. Yeah, you forget those songs, or I do.
I think, if memory serves me correctly, you did one of your major hits with Loretta, didn't you?
Oh yeah, I did. It's Only Make Believe.
Yeah, you did that. Yes, you did that as a duet.
Right. Well, it wasn't a single, but that was the name of our first album. In fact, we Only Make Believe. We recorded that, and that was the name of our first album. But there was another one too, a thing that I wrote for as a duet, and it didn't really knock her out that much, so I recorded it myself, and it wanted to become a #1 record.
What was that?
Boys, ask me all these hard questions. I can't. I've Already Loved You in My Mind is the name of it.
Conway, I want to talk to you about your car. I arrived here at the recording studio, and I said, "Where's Conway?" Dee Henry said, "He's parking the car." And I said, "Has he still got that crazy little car he used to have?" And she said, "Yes, he has." And you have an AMC Pacer, which they don't make anymore.
That's right, American Motors Pacer station wagon. I started buying them, driving those cars in 1976, and every year I got a new one, and in 1980 they made them, and that's the year they quit making them. So I bought 2 of them.
So has this become a collector's item?
It is, as far as I'm concerned. I got a lot of classic cars, and when I decide to park this Pacer, and I don't want to, I really do like it.
How many miles do you have on it?
It's got about 75, 80,000 miles on it.
Conway, I had to leave the room when you were starting to tell a story about J. Paul Getty.
Yeah. Yeah, but last year sometime, 2020, the television show 2020 did a story on the richest man in America. And they'd been advertising it for 2 or 3 weeks, and I thought, well, I wonder who this guy is. No, it's not me. I wonder who it is. Roy Acuff or somebody like it. Who is it? And it turned out to be J. Paul Getty. And I was out on the road working and didn't get to see the show, so I had someone tape it for us.
Is this J. Paul Getty Jr.?
Right, Jr. That's right, J. Paul Getty Jr. And when we got back, I asked if they had taped this show. Yeah, nobody wanted to talk about it too much, but they finally got it out of them. While they were doing this show, whoever was doing the interviewing, where they were in this big mansion he lived in, and his wife was there, and they were saying what a nice person he seemed to be, kind of down to earth and laid back and all that. And they went out on the grounds, on these beautiful grounds, and they were walking around, and they came upon this man shining on his, up this little car. And the guy doing the interviewing said, "I understand this is your personal car," and he said, "That's right." And he said, "And you don't have a chauffeur, you drive it yourself." He said, "That's right. Nobody drives that car but me." I think this is one of the best cars ever made in this country. And to make a long story short, it was an American Motors Pacer station wagon, light brown, just like mine. Exactly.
So you would attribute the man, you would say that he had great taste, then, would
That's
you?
right. He had something on the ball, right?
Conway, how many cars do you have?
You mean classic cars?
Yes.
About 15, I imagine, in all, something like that.
What are some of them?
One of them is a 1956 Crown Victoria Ford. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
But it's a glass Crown. There were just a few of those made. Beautiful, beautiful car. People.
What do you mean glass Crown?
Well, it had a glass top, like the glass slipper that the Cinderella had, right? Mm-hmm. It's kind of like that. The glass top. It's beautiful. Most people forget about those unique automobiles that were made back in those days, and it's art. It's a form of art, right? And one of these days, I'm going to have me a classic car museum out at Twitty City called Cars of the Stars, and I put my cars in there, and one of Loretta's, and one of Johnny Cash's, and people like that.
You mentioned that you had an old Crown Victoria Ford.
Mm-hmm.
What else do you have in your collection?
Well, I got a 1956 Lincoln Mark II Continental. I don't know if you remember that car or not. There was just a few made back in 1956 when a Cadillac loaded down, the most expensive car we had in this country, loaded down with everything would have cost you less than $5,000. Mm-hmm. This car cost $15,000, and you had to write them a check and send it to them before they'd make it.
So it was customized.
Customized all the way. That's right. And inside the car was this beautiful plaque thing in there. This car was made expressly for such and such and so and so. All the instruments in it were made in Switzerland. Just a unique automobile. The first one I ever saw, I remember Dick Clark had it back on American Bandstand. He had just a beautiful automobile, unique. Didn't look like anything you'd ever seen before.
A 1956
Lincoln Mark II Continental.
One of the early Marks.
That's right. Unique.
What else do you have?
Oh, got some a 1975 Bronco that I bought in Oklahoma. That's got 8,000 miles on it, and I painted it like my buses. Used the same paint scheme, and put a little sun visor on the front of it. Remember the old sun visor the automobiles used to have? Mm-hmm. I got one on my Pacer too, by the way. My band got it for me for Christmas. I was going to take a picture of my Pacer and send it to that J. Paul Getty Jr., and it's the only Pacer in the United States that's got a sun visor on it. And it really does makes it cute. Cute as a button. Looks kind of like me going down the road with my hat on,
Well, he might like that.
He might. I got the only mold in the United States for a sun visor for an American Motors Pacer station wagon.
Conway, where do you keep your cars at the present time?
They're in a warehouse out in Gallatin. Just north of Hendersonville, where Twitty City is.
When do you think you might open your car museum, automobile museum?
I don't think it'll be too long. We've had some problems with management out there at Music Village, and just recently we have made a deal to where the management of Twitty City, is going to handle everything at Music Village. All the decisions and everything that are made out there now will be us. And so it's really up to me now. I never had a partner in Twitty City. I own that, and never had any problems making the decisions. But I was a partner in Music Village, but never had much to say about the management of it. But now we do have. It'll be soon, I think.
Okay. Let's talk about what you plan for 1987.
All right. I am excited, Ralph. And, after you've been in the business 30 years, it's hard to find a lot of things to get excited about, right?
I would think it would be difficult to keep your excitement up about another record when you've had so many successful records. You have proved time and again you can cut hit records. Mm-hmm. What do you have to prove?
I have just signed a new contract with MCA and gone back with Jimmy Bowen, a friend of mine that I went with when I went to Elektra. He was the president there, and then when I got over there, he came back to MCA, But anyway, and I have just recorded an album, and I'm trying to think of what we named the album. What is it?
Borderline.
D. Henry gets on the intercom and says Borderline.
Yeah, the name of the new album is Borderline. There's a song in the album called Borderline that's really unique, and it'll probably be one of the singles out of the album, not the first one. But
Is there something symbolic in that title? Are you trying to tell us something? On what border?
I think so. I think it's just once people listen to the album, they'll know.
I guess what I'm asking...
It has to do with the music.
Well, what I'm asking, are these all crossover tunes?
Some of them would be. So this is the most unique album, Ralph, I think I've ever done. Jimmy Bowen hit me with a thing. He said, I know you, and I know you go into the studio and you try your best to record 10 singles. And that's right. That's what I've always tried to do. I mean, I go through at least 2,500 songs. And by the way, I heard you refer to that on your TV show one night, that Conway Twitty was one who really put the emphasis on the material, where it ought to be, the song.
Well, I've always admired you for that.
Well, thank you. But anyway, he said, I know you've always done that. And I said, yeah, that's true. He said, this time I want you to do a little different. He said, I know that you, like all artists, you come across songs that are really unique. And I know I heard you say it before. Boy, what a great little song. But what can I do with it? What am I going to do with it? It's not a song that fits the mold right now. What you think radio is going to play when this album comes out. So let's pick 4 songs that you consider good, solid radio songs, just like you've always done. Then we'll pick 6 that we'll call piece of business songs. That's what we'll call them, for lack of anything else to call it. Just great songs, and radio may never play them. And as soon as you start talking about it, it really, because I've got all kinds of songs stuck back in corners and just great little pieces of material that I would never have recorded. This album has got a lot of that kind of thing in it. And I put it together like I would a show.
You mean songs that you might have been afraid to take a chance with in the past?
That's right. Songs that I would never think. When this album comes out 6 or 7 months from now, and you always got to think that far ahead and try to be aware of what radio is going to be looking for 6 or 7 months from now. And I've always, like you said a while ago, I've always been able to do that. But pick 4 songs, that's all. But you're really cutting it close. I mean, you can't. There's no room for error. If you're going to take 2 or maybe 3 songs out of this album, it only leaves you 1 to make a mistake with, right? I mean, you can't. They better be singles. But these other songs, these other 6, are just knocked out, well-written songs that everybody would like. And they say, yeah, but what are you going to do with it? Radio, man, they're not playing that kind of thing right now.
Well, if they're good songs, the public will react by purchasing the album, and you will have done what you're supposed to do.
That's right. And 2, I think when Ralph Emery sits down and listens to this album and finds something for his radio show, I think Ralph Emery's going to say, man, have you heard? Listen to this song. This is a fine song, and this is the kind of material that allows radio to reach out and find something different and lead us in maybe a little bit different direction every now and then.
One of the most unusual songs in my memory that you did was, I think, a Troy Seals song, that thing about Memphis and Nashville.
Oh, yeah.
Where you presented 2 forms of music.
Yeah, called the Grand Old Blues.
And you sang bluesy and you sang country all
That's right.
in the same song.
Great little song. You like that?
Yeah, I thought that was very creative, very unique.
It starts off, he's leaving Nashville, singing country, right? And I sure am going to miss those old twin fiddles and all that stuff. And then all of a sudden the saxophone comes in, but I see the skyline of Memphis, right?
Yeah, I thought that was very, very clever.
Yeah, that was a good song.
Conway, I want to ask you about Fallen for You for Years. That's been a good record for you, hasn't it?
It sure has. That's another Troy Seals song.
Now, this song is about to peak out as we tape this show.
As we speak, it was number 1 in R&R, and it was number 2 the last I heard in Billboard.
All right, where do we go from here? When does the next record make its debut?
The next single will come out about the 2nd of February.
So it will be out as this plays back.
Right.
What's the next single to be?
There's a song it's the first cut on the new album that we were talking about a few minutes ago, Borderline. The first cut is a song called Julia. A unique. It's one of those piece of business songs we were talking about a while ago. It's not a song that I thought I probably wouldn't have recorded this song had I not been looking at this thing through different eyes. This album, this concept. But I recorded it. It came off great, and I just think that radio's ready for something fresh. Always looking for something fresh, right? As long as it's a really good song, and I'm really excited about it. It's one of those songs that I wouldn't have picked, I don't think, to record.
Julia, Julia.
Right.
Not Julie.
Not Julie.
You remember Mel Tillis?
I sure do, yeah.
Who's Julie?
Yeah.
And so many times he's had to answer that question.
No.
Like you've had to answer the questions about Linda.
About Linda, right?
You still get questions about Linda?
Oh yeah, all the time.
Who is Linda? Laying here with Linda on my mind.
I'll never tell.
Conway, we have talked from time to time about radio's reaction to music. Has the public ever treated one of your songs as somewhat controversial or had a lot of questions about a song?
As far as the public goes?
Yes.
Radio?
No, just as far as the public goes.
No, I've never had a problem with the public.
Well, I don't mean a problem. I mean a song that sort of stirred them up, made them ask questions when they would come through the autograph line, that sort of thing.
You mean like Who's Linda?
Yeah, something else
and
on that order.
You've never been as far before, the Boom 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 song. That was mostly radio. That wasn't really the...
But I know that was radio. That's what I'm asking. Has there been a song that created that kind of stir with the public?
No. Not that I can remember right now.
The public then accepts whatever you put out with no question.
They hadn't, not yet. They've always understood it, and most of my fans have been women, and they understand those things.
You still try to skew your music to women?
First of all, yeah, that's my first concern is what a woman's going to think about the song. Also, I try to pick a song that a man's going to like too, but women first.
Why?
Why the men?
Oh, why the women?
Oh, why the women first?
Yes.
Well, shoot, man, they run this world. They right.
Well,
the hand that rocks the cradle rules the world.
I'm asking you to tell me your reasons.
That's the way I feel about it. Women understand songs a lot quicker than most men do.
You think they pay more attention?
Oh, sure. Well, they're more sensitive to things like that than a man. Man, he'll eventually get it. He'll eventually understand.
You mean you have to hit him in the head with it?
Sometimes, yeah.
Do you think women buy more records?
Certainly.
Do you think?
I think that's beginning to change some. I think that's beginning more. A lot of men are beginning to buy records too now, but more women do in country music.
All right. Do you think a woman controls or influences the purchase of a ticket to a show?
Certainly. I think when she says "let's go," the old boy says "okay." Well, you know how that works, Ralph. Don't.
See, I never take my wife anywhere, Conway.
She takes you, right?
So you think women have the greatest influence on country music?
I certainly do. I think women have a great influence on almost everything that goes on, politics, anything else, but certainly country music.
Conway, you've had some experience with women. And I know you dabble in many businesses. Do you think that in all the businesses you've been involved in, and I'm going to address baseball right here, do you think women have played the greatest role in purchasing whatever you had for sale?
Whatever I had for sale.
Yes. You see, you sell records.
Women, yeah.
Yeah. You sell tickets to baseball games.
Yeah. Well, I'm not sure about women there. They may be mostly men, maybe.
I'm asking you.
I think so. Men.
Okay. How about you used to sell hamburgers?
Twitty burgers, yeah.
Women buy those?
Certainly. Yeah.
What else have you sold in your lifetime?
Oh, well, we sell tickets to concerts every day. That's women, mostly women. And a lot of men come, but they come mostly because of the women in most cases.
When you sing on sing on stage, do you usually try to catch the eye of a lady in the audience to sing to?
Not just one. No, I try to look at every one of them. You can't see very far into the crowd.
I know,
the
but
lights are in your eyes, but the first 4 or 5 rows, yeah, I try to make eye contact with everybody out there.
How about your mail? Is it dominated by women?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. We get a lot of mail from men, but mostly women. But you know, Conway Twitty is different. I think men. The reason I have so many men fans is that in the image, the Conway Twitty image, the songs that I have chosen down through the years, and that has helped to create that image. Men have never felt threatened by Conway Twitty like they would an Elvis Presley or somebody like that, right? They've never felt threatened by me because of the songs.
You obviously have never been to a Conway Twitty concert. Conway, I have been to a Conway Twitty concert, and I have seen the women claw the stage. So don't tell me you're not a threat to the men. I don't believe that.
Well, I mean, the men are right there with them usually. I've had women jumping up and down and screaming, and their husband standing right there and say, "That's okay, Conway. You're the only guy in the world I'd let hug my wife like that." But they don't feel threatened by Conway for some reason.
I do know that you've taken particular pains to pick lyrics in songs that you have felt that a woman would react to.
Right.
Particularly a woman who had been spurned or had been done wrong, that sort of thing.
Right.
Or was lonely.
Right. And say something in that song that I know she wants her man to say to her, right? But most men don't know how to say. Most men really don't know how to say those things. And so if I can, and this is where the man comes in.
You think a man doesn't know how or is too shy to say "I love you"? Something is holding.
Well, that's when I say he doesn't know how, I mean that something stops him from being shy. Maybe one thing, being too macho. You know, like a lot of men don't want somebody to see them cry. You know, they're too macho for that, and they've been raised to think that it's not macho to do and say those things. I think in the way a man grows up, when a kid grows up and they teach him his dad teaches him that he watches other men. Yeah, I don't think they know how to do it. They feel like something's in their throat somewhere that stops them from saying those things. But if Conway Twitty chooses just the right song for them, and he says something in that song that the woman wants to hear, something that he wants to say but can't for some reason, then all he's got to do is put a quarter in the jukebox and dance with her, and at the appropriate time in the song, when it says what he wants to say, he just squeezes her a little bit, and she gets the message. And Conway Twitty's got another hit record.
Can you still get a tune for a quarter in a jukebox? I haven't been around a jukebox quite a while.
I don't know, Ralph. I haven't either.
Conway, let's talk about Twitty City. What's going on in 1987 at Twitty City?
Twitty City. Wow, we just got through, as you know, with our annual Christmas at Twitty City event. And this year
I was there. Where were you?
You sure were. And I was in Detroit the night. Yeah, Ralph opens it for us every year. And I was in Detroit that night and couldn't be there.
I was there with a Twitty Bird.
Yep.
And I noticed that you had completed your 3-phase Christmas display, which you started 3 years ago with X number of lights.
It was about 5 years ago. I think this was our 5th year.
Okay.
With Christmas at Twitty City. So, yeah, it was 4 different phases, and we finished it up this year.
You have brought it to its completion.
I think so, about 95%. There are little bitty things that we'll add to it. Like this past year, we had a little, what do we call it, animal petting zoo out there. and that was something that.
You have live reindeer?
Yeah, we had live reindeer and live pumas or whatever they call them, and ostrich and all kinds of things. Little baby animals out there, and the kids just love it.
Now, is that something only for the Christmas season?
Right, only for the Christmas season.
What about the regular fare that people will see when they come to Nashville this year?
The regular fare?
Yeah, I mean, what are they going to see at Twitty City?
Oh, at Twitty City?
Yeah.
Well, let's see what's there every year. The original concept, and my home is there. I have 4 young adult kids. I don't know what to call them, but they're young adults, and 3 of them are trying to make it in this business, and the other one's playing semi-pro golf, and my mother's home's there. My businesses are all there. Some beautiful grounds. I think it's what most country music fans want to see when they come to Nashville. That's the closest thing to an entertainer when they can walk right up to your front door almost, and that's what they do at Twitty City. They'll see all those things, plus a showcase and museum and stuff like that.
Do people try to come into your house?
No, I've never had that problem out there at Twitty City with country fans. Of course, we have tour guides with them, but not all the time. But country fans don't do that very often. They won't walk out across you. We have these gentle reminders that you can't do this and you can't do that. We have waterways and flowers and shrubs and beautiful grounds, and they won't just violate that and walk right across things like that to get to my front door.
Conway, how old is Twitty City?
This was our 5th year this past year. We're going into our 6th year now.
Gosh, how time flies.
Time flies. It sure does.
You still have, I assume, I know you hate the word museum.
The showcase?
Showcase.
Yes.
It's a showcase that shows off your life in both sound and lights.
Right.
And
in a living, moving kind of way. Not just things laying around somewhere, but the show moves. It moves and it takes you from one phase to another in my life. Back when I was growing up, and then the rock and roll years, and then when I first got into country, and then the duet phase of my career.
You still have the old radio show?
Oh yeah, that's still there.
There's an old radio at Twitty City, and at the appropriate moment, it plays an old radio show. And this was from Arkansas, wasn't it?
Right, from KFFA in Helena, Arkansas.
And you were just a little kid.
Like 13 years old.
Playing in whose band?
The Parker Brothers. The band was called the Parker Brothers. And John Huey he was playing steel then on this particular radio show you're talking about. John's my steel man today. And he was on that show with me. It was the Parker Brothers. And Brad Parker was the father, and he had these 2 very talented sons. And it was their show, and we were guesting on that show.
Well, you were. Somehow I thought you might have been a regular on that show.
I had my own show at that time, but we were guesting on their show, on this particular show, and he introduces Harold Jenkins.
How did you find that recording from so long ago?
Mr. Parker still had it. It was on an old wire recorder. You remember that thing?
Yes.
The wire recorder. It was on a thing like that, and I managed to get a copy of it.
It's a rather rare treasure, isn't it?
Yes, it sure is.
Conway, thank you for talking with me, and I wish you well in 1987.
Thank you, Ralph. Same to you, and I'll be watching your show every night, just like I always do, and enjoy it.
Come and be on it sometime.
I sure will.
Conway Twitty passed away June the 5th, 1993, at a hospital in Springfield, Missouri. He died of an abdominal aneurysm. A real coincidence in this story is that Loretta Lynn was at the hospital in Springfield, Missouri, when they brought Conway Twitty there. She was there because they were treating her husband, Mooney. Mooney had a terrible problem with diabetes. Mooney would survive that trip to Springfield, but pass away 3 years later in August of 1996.